Hi, my name is Frank Jernigan, also known as Franco, as you see spelled Phrance. I have made a number of videos, and in a comment to one of my videos, someone asked if I would make a video showing how I hold my yarn, and I guess that also means how I actually make my stitches. So this is a brief video just to show you that. Now, just because this is how I do it does not mean you should do it this way. I believe there is many ways to hold the yarn and make your stitches as there are knitters in the world. Everybody works out their own special way to do it. And I only show you this because it might give you an idea of something you might want to try and see if you can speed up your knitting by doing something a little differently. If it works for you, great, use it. If it doesn't, move along and don't worry about it. Enjoy. First, I pick up the yarn and entwine it in my fingers. Then I begin to knit. This is pretty much how it looks when I'm knitting. Perhaps I do it a little faster when I'm not recording. And of course, I missed a stitch right there, but I quickly corrected it. You see my finger flicking around the end of the right needle to wrap the thread. How quickly the thread gets wrapped around the needle. I'll explain how all of this works in much more detail. But first, this is how I hold the yarn. I start by putting my little finger under the yarn. Then I let the yarn go over my ring finger, and I insert my index finger under the yarn and bring my middle finger down. So now, as I show you, the yarn is just weaving back and forth between my fingers and ultimately comes over my index finger just below my fingernail before the first knuckle of that finger. Here it is again. I put my little finger under the yarn, and there we go. Here's how it looks when I just pick up the yarn. That's how quickly that can be done. And now I'm ready to knit. Exactly how do I knit? I pick up the yarn. I push the stitches up the needle toward the tip of the needle so there are plenty of stitches to work with. I insert the right needle and at the same time push my index finger forward so that the yarn is ready to wrap as soon as the needle gets all the way inserted into the stitch. Notice how it's simultaneously pushing the needle and the yarn forward at the same time. The yarn flicks around the needle. That's why it's sometimes called flicking instead of throwing. And once more, this is how it looks when I speed up. So I'll slow it back down again and show you exactly the movements. Notice the needle does not go all the way into the stitch. I'm still wrapping the yarn around the tip of the needle before it reaches the full barrel width, so that the stitch gets sized only at the very end when the new stitch is pushed onto the barrel of the right needle. Notice that I focus on two things: inserting the needle into the stitch and pushing the yarn forward simultaneously. And then I focus on wrapping the yarn around the tip as quickly as possible, flicking my finger around the end of the needle to wrap the yarn. I've found that wrapping the yarn as quickly as possible is the primary way of speeding up my knitting as a thrower. Well, that's how I hold the yarn and make my stitches. And again, It's not the only way to hold the yarn. It's just how I do it. Happy knitting.